Even though the Pawn Stars show has been a success and there have been some amazing deals the viewers got to witness, you can't run a pawn shop and not lose money every once in a while. Some deals are bound to turn out bad for the shop, and the folks at Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas are no exception. Over the last 10 years, our favorite dealers in one of the most famous pawn shops in the world have made some massive purchases, but some pretty bad judgments as well, leaving their shop short for different amounts of money. Besides, the cast of Pawn Stars has also been sued several times since the show first premiered and faced many irritated customers who couldn't help but start a conflict. From counterfeit products to outright theft, any irate customers, Rick and the company have had no shortage of less than pleasant experiences. So without any further ado, let's take a look at 10 Pawn Stars customers who threatened them. As there said to be fewer than 30 known fully signed copies of Led Zeppelin 1 albums in the world. When a man came to the shop carrying one, Rick was thrilled the record had been signed by all members, with the leader Jimmy Page's signature on the front and the rest of the members' autographs on the back. However, since the owner, Robert, was looking for $22,000, Rick had to call an expert and see how much the record was really valued at. Rick even said that if the album was real, he would rather take it home than leave it in the store. Upon thorough inspection, the expert had pretty good news, as the signatures turned out to be real. However, his appraisal was only $10,000 to $12,000, which the owner really was not happy with. He said he understood the guy was a signature person, but he wasn't really an appraiser, so he couldn't agree with him and decided to stick to his first price or go as low as to $17,500. Needless to say, Rick wasn't ready to pay that much after hearing the expert's opinion, so both he and the owner were left empty-handed. Rick is famous for calling in a buddy expert for just about everything. However, sometimes he decides to trust his gut, and even though more often than not his gut turns out to be right, this was not the case. When a seller brought in a supposed 19th century Wells Fargo strongbox, Rick decided to trust his own feelings. Unfortunately for Rick, the box, for which he had given $450, was hardly authentic. The seller also brought the box and stuffed with 2 ball and chain sets he thought were artifacts from the Yuma and Folsom prisons, but Rick recognized them as fakes right away, which made the owner ask him irritatedly what made him an expert on that stuff. He managed to convince Rick, though, that the stuff did not come with the box and that he had put it there before coming to the shop, which made Rick believe the box might be real. When his expert Mark Aka, beard of knowledge, saw the box, he notified Rick that it was one of the most widely faked items and that the strong box Rick had brought was a complete fantasy piece. In the second season, a customer came to the shop confident to sell a statue of Perseus and Pegasus, made by Emile Louis Pacult, for a good amount of money. Unfortunately for him, he was faced with someone familiar with Pacult's work, as Rick was aware that his statues were highly collectible and worth thousands of dollars, so he gave the item a thorough look. After only a couple of seconds, Rick became suspicious since he found markings on the statue that did not match the period it was produced in. He also found markings engraved on the statue, showing that it had been made in the United States, and since the artist is French, this confirmed that the statue was a reproduction. This statement, however, really made the customer furious with Rick, which is why he started screaming that the owner was full of shit. As the tension culminated, the pawnshop security guard Antoine began walking toward the customer in case an intervention was needed. Luckily, the old man defused the situation by calmly yet firmly explaining that they were not interested in buying the statue. Chris really had a hard time controlling his temper. He came to the pawn shop with a piece of armor to protect the throat, a Hudson Bay gorget, as he was asking $100,000. The old man called Rick to take a look, who quickly realized the worth of the item. He told the seller it was worth much less, precisely $99,000 less than he was asking for the item. Turned out to be made from the wrong material, which made Rick's offer quite reasonable, but the customer lost it and refused the offer using some pretty nasty words. However, the guy couldn't believe that as he asked him, "What the are you talking about?" When Rick asked the man what he knew about the item, he said, "Not much, but that his father had taken another mortgage on the house to pay for it at an auction." The next case wasn't about a customer threatening the Pawn Stars, it is about someone threatening him if he does not sell the item. He has brought to the shop. The first season episode, called Time Machines, featured a man who brought a flintlock pistol he had bought at a gun show. Corey immediately saw the potential of an interesting piece of history and decided to call in an expert in vintage firearms to appraise the value of the gun. Though at first, both Corey and the customer were excited to hear that if the gun is authentic, it could be worth up to $2,500. Their dreams were soon to be crushed as it turned out the particular gun was not authentic and was just a modern recast of an old design worth about $75. The customer was clearly upset, saying that the person he'd bought the gun from told him that it had been a family heirloom for generations. In fact, that story is what made him comfortable paying $800 outside the store. The customer says, "My wife was pissed when I bought this gun. Now she's really going to kill me." When a cocky seller brought a one-in-a-million photo of Abraham Lincoln and his wife Mary from 1863, he was asking for $1 million. However, Rick wasn't sure it was real, so he decided to call in an expert. That turned out to be a good idea, since when the expert compared Mary's facial features with facial comparison software, they did not match. So she declared it a fake, but the seller didn't take the news well, belligerently saying that he considered himself more of an expert on the subject than the actual expert. When she defended her record of spotting fakes and continued claiming that the photo wasn't authentic, the seller snarkily declared it was her career, so she had the right to discredit herself. All of this made Rick take the word of the renowned expert over the sulky seller and refused to make an offer. The next customer came to the shop in 2013, hoping not to sell anything, but to buy one of the most popular things in the shop. However, for a much smaller price than it was worth. The item in question is an bar-ring worth $11,000. However, this man claimed it was worth only $5,500. The man was prepared and seemed paranoid as he brought pictures of another 1975 Golden State Warriors ring and compared them only to conclude that they are the same. He had a plan to pretend to be a professional jeweler and claim the ring to be a fake in an attempt to make Rick very uncomfortable so he would sell it to him for a much lower price. He even brought a tester and started inspecting the diamond, but he didn't expect Rick would tell him his tester was cheap and brought his own. Though Rick was trying his best to keep it cool, it was obvious he was pretty intimidated by the man who was apparently trying to perform a scam. Besides having to deal with angry and threatening customers, the cast of Pawn Stars was even threatened and sued by quite a few different parties, including their first agent. Wayne Jeffries is allegedly the man who discovered the Pawn Stars back in 2007 and landed them their hit show on several networks. In October 2012, Wayne sued the cast members as well as AMD Networks and History for interference with business practices. He claimed that he helped launch the show, but then the network almost immediately fired him and cut him out of the profits. Apparently, several network executives approached the cast about pushing Jeffries out of the picture. He sought more than $5 million, but the case was eventually dismissed. That wasn't the only lawsuit Rick and Old Man Harrison had to deal with in 2012, as they were also sued by a 62-year-old disabled Vietnam vet who claimed that they'd roughed him up in their Las Vegas shop a year before. Daniel Callahan filed a civil suit in Clark County District Court on April 26, accusing Rick and his father of physically assaulting him in their gold and silver pawn shop in October 2011. Callahan, who walks with a cane, got into a dispute with the gentleman who placed him in a chokehold, dragged him through the store and threw him onto the sidewalk, along with the Model 96B rifle he brought in to have appraised. As a result, Callahan was asking for $20,000 and claimed that he was injured. His cane was damaged, and the rifle he had brought in to be appraised was also damaged during the incident. Olivia Black was one of the storefront workers who joined after the first few seasons. She was brought in to work the night shift at the shop, and Chumlee fell for her in an instant. However, she lost her gig on the show after nude photos of her surfaced exposing her previous career as a model for SuicideGirls.com. She later revealed that she was still an employee of the store, and she was really only fired in front of the cameras. Olivia resumed her modeling career, and it was alleged that she sued to get back on the show, although during her Reddit she denied there was a lawsuit and openly petitioned to return to the show, writing, "I am still trying to show the production company that if I was fired for the SG photos that the fans don't care, I'd just like to have my job back." However, she never returned to the show and even left her job at the store several months later. Thank you for checking this video out, and don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe for new videos every day. Turn that bell notification on and comment down below that you subscribed, and we'll make sure to reply and thank as many of you as we possibly can. Once again, thank you for watching and see you next time.